Good afternoon, my name is Christine Myers. Today I will be presenting my benchmark on Charlotte Russe. This presentation will go into the organizational design, structure, and change that is currently going on within the Charlotte Russe company. So like I said, this presentation will identify a major issue the organization is facing. It will explain the ramifications. We will analyze the relevance of the current organizational structure. We will also go into detail about maybe how they can turn around their business and change what is currently going on. So there are 8 dimensions. The 8 dimensions include, but are not limited to, innovativeness, long-term investments, people management, and financial soundness. Charlotte Russe is the company I chose to do my presentation on. It is a clothing brand that's goal is to empower young women by body positivity and an environment that creates body positivity. Their vision is that you always have room for a whole lot of new. You always have room for new clothing. You always have room to create a better style for yourself. This company is an American clothing company. It's based out of San Diego, California. And this is the company we will be diving into depth to about today. This right here is a timeline of the company. In 1975 is when it first opened. In 1990 they moved to Arizona, and then in 1992 they expanded into Nevada. Unfortunately, in 2019 they did go into financial bankruptcy and file a Chapter 11. However, that same year they turned it around and stated that they were under new ownership and they were going to open 100 new stores and include an online presence. Financial soundness is one of the 8th dimensions. It is the 8th dimension we will be talking about today. Financial soundness indicators are methodological tools that help qualify and quantify the soundness and valuability of financial systems according to 5 areas of interest, which are capital, adequacy, asset quality, earnings, liquidity, and sensitivity to market risk. So what does that mean for Charlotte Russe? Well, like I previously stated, in 2019, Charlotte Russe filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And during that timeline where I showed you on the previous slide, they acquired a company called Rampage Clothing. Well, Rampage Clothing was currently going out of business when they acquired 15 of their stores. This means that not only were they growing to expand, but they also took over a company that was going out of business in that time frame. Ramifications and consequences. Revenue loss is an unfortunate prospect for any business that operates over an extended period of time. This is basically just saying you're always going to have a loss. No matter how much win you have, there will also be a loss. It's just when that loss is more than your wins, when it becomes a problem. So what are the ramifications and consequences of revenue loss? Those are going to be a loss in wages. You're not going to be able to pay your employees. You're going to have less locations, which means you're going to have less stores open. You're going to have less inventory, which means you're not going to be able to sell as much. You'll have less of a business due to all of these prospects, and eventually you will end up going out of business if you cannot make it turn around. So the effects of organizational structure. When asked about their organizational structure, Charlotte Russe CEO explained it as a flat organization, a startup, a turnaround, and a growth company. Well, what does this mean? Charlotte Russe CEO is trying to turn the company into a flat company. She wants little as middlemen as possible. She wants to be able to talk to her employees directly. She wants to let them know of their goals and if they're reaching their goals and that they're doing a good job. A startup, because they're starting brand new. They're under new ownership. They've got new inventory. They're trying something different than last time. A turnaround, because this company did file a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, they are still trying to turn around their profits in order to boost themselves within the market. And a growth company. Any company is always a growth company. The goal is to always grow and become better and to become bigger. Design. So how is this company designed? Well, Charlotte Russe uses fast fashion to create affordable clothing for lower income families. They market to current customers only. They have very little outreach programs. They don't have any commercials on the air. They just currently sign people up for emails, and that's how they get coupons and whatnot. So the culture. When I went into depth about this company, they had a D+ culture rating on comparability.com. Their diversity was 64 out of 100, employee net promoter 28 out of 100, team 67 out of 100, and compensation 41 out of 100. That means that out of their competition like Hollister, PacSun, all those other clothing stores, they are paying their employees a considerably amount less. And not only are they paying them less, their CEOs are making more. So there's a big gap between the CEO and the employees. Conscientious capitalism. What is conscientious capitalism? Conscientious capitalism is being aware of what your company is doing, not only to your employees, but within the environment your company operates in. So that includes, are you doing charitable work? Are you helpful to your company? Are you not only benefiting your company, but are you benefiting those around you? It is my humble opinion that given all of the facts, Charlotte Russe is not a company who participates in conscientious capitalism. They keep their profits for their CEOs. They do not have any charitable resources or charitable foundations. They do not participate in conscientious capitalism. Managing challenges. So the challenges that Charlotte Russe faces right now are ethics, marketing, and their organization. Currently, Charlotte Russe uses fast fashion, which is a very unethical way to source your resources. Marketing, they have little to no marketing. They only market to current customers. This becomes a problem when you're trying to grow your company. Organization, they currently focus on raising revenues due to the fact that they just filed a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Their current focus is revenues, and they don't see the bigger picture. Improvement plan. What are ways we can improve this company? What are ways that we can grow this company? We can be a better company. We can be more conscientious capital. We can work to grow together. Well, my ideas are to raise wages for your employees and lower your CEO wages. Find more ethically sustainable clothing options. Just because you're a clothing store and you want cheap clothing does not mean you have to use fast fashion. There are other ways to sustain a low-cost clothing and an ethical resource. Diversity commitment, commit to ethical practices, better marketing, more focused on inventory, trying to grow your inventory and make better inventory for your customers to where the clothing isn't so cheap and that they don't have to throw away clothing a day after wearing them. That's what fast fashion is all about, is cheap clothing that you can not only sell cheap, but it's also made cheaply. And the evaluation of management. After doing all the research on this company, I found that the management had a disconnect with the employees. All employees who worked there, they stated that they did not care for management. Management was disconnected. They did not speak to their managers, and there was just all around very little communication between management and employees. Strategies for leading teams. The best way to lead teams is to listen. Ask rather than tell. Establish role and responsibility expectations. Set clear and realistic expectations. Expectations are very important when it comes to not only customers, but also your employees. Everybody needs to know what the end goal is so that everybody can try and work towards that goal together. Meet with employees, find out how they're feeling, find out what's going on. Do they have any ideas? Can they contribute in any way even more than what they already are? So making employees feel needed, valued, that's very important when it comes to building a company up. Define and communicate. So define and communicate just basically goes into establishing the role and responsibility expectations and setting clear expectations. You want to be very clear, you want to communicate very well, you want to explain what you're doing, and you also want to go into detail about what your goal is and how you plan on achieving that goal. That way there is no miscommunication and nobody is confused on what the end goal is. Delegate and empower, speak from the heart, encourage and recognize. These are all things that help grow a company and make people feel as though they're valued within the company. If people are allowed to speak from the heart, you're going to get more truth, and that truth will help you build your company. Lastly, we have commit to continued education. Education is always important. You should always want to grow your education. You should always want to be able to learn more. Nobody ever knows anything, and things are always constantly changing. So it is important to keep up with the times. And thank you so much for coming today. That is my presentation. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. I want to thank you so much for coming.